Hi everyone, I'm Leo and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about Mochi Mayhem, the epilogue of the DLC The Indigo Disc. I want to talk to you about my experience with this final part of the game, what I liked and what in my opinion could have been better. As we know, this chapter introduced Pecharunt, the boy from the story of the three heroes in the Legends of Kitakami, and I really appreciated that they finally decided to give the right importance to a mythical Pokémon, making an entire chapter for him, and not just a simple encounter or a downloadable content as in the past. So I approve of this choice and I hope it becomes the rule for future mythical Pokémon. The DLC begins by downloading a mythical Pecha Berry via Mystery Gift, and then traveling to Mochi Town in Kitakami, where you can interact with the strange object on the pillow near the old woman. I was surprised that it was Pecharunt himself in some sort of stasis, and not just a decoration put there by the developers as an Easter egg. I think it's very funny that Game Freak decided to leave him there under our noses for all this time. Later, we got a call from Arven to meet him, Penny and Nemona at our house for a reunion. And once we get there, our mother informs us that she received a letter from Kiran inviting us and our friends to Kitakami, so we get ready to leave for a new adventure altogether. Now I want to briefly focus on the dialogues between the characters in these short scenes, before moving on with the story, because there are some interesting things. First of all, I have to say that it was a little sad to read Arven's positive comments about our house and our mother, knowing his quite tragic story. But I honestly don't remember him being so attached to us and jealous of our other friends, while now it seems the Game Freak wanted to emphasize this side of his character by making him very jealous of Kiran. They also give us some more information about Nemona's life. We already knew from the dialogues in the Area Zero that her parents are very rich, but it is telling that the first person she decided to inform about her trip to Kitakami is the housekeeper and not one of her parents. This could mean that in addition to being very rich, her parents are also very busy, perhaps too busy to be bothered by their daughter and to know what she does. It seems like Nemona has a pretty lonely life too, after all. And lastly, there was the call between Penny and her father, who, as already mentioned in the dialogues of Area Zero, is a very anxious and protective man, but at least is a father interested in the lives of his children, which is extremely rare in the world of Pokémon, so good for Penny. Returning to the story, after reading the letter, we leave for Mochi Town. Here we meet Kiran at his house and Arven decides to flex our friendship as much as possible to the new guy, while Penny seems to be kinder and sympathize with Kiran because she says that they are both introverts, and Nemona, as expected, challenges him to a Pokémon battle. But after the battle, some strange things happen. Carmine appears before us with purple eyes and she begins the chicken dance repeating Mochi. I have to admit that I wasn't ready for this. It was pretty funny and I stopped playing to enjoy the scene, but beyond the ridiculous dancing and music, it was a little disturbing to think that Carmine was controlled by some spirit and forced to dance against her will and only say Mochi. But it seems like it's become a rule for Pokémon games that someone is possessed by some creature. Then we had Kiran bring his sister home and the boy explained to us that Carmine has been in that state for a while and asks for our help, and obviously we accept. We all head to the community center where a heated argument begins between Arven and Penny about the best way to use the television. Arven wants to watch a movie and Penny wants to play video games, and so begins a crucial mission to find the remote control of the television. All this when there are hundreds of Pokémon out there to catch and a mysterious new creature taking control of people. It's really strange to realize that the most normal person in this group is Nemona, at least she wants to battle with Pokémon, as any reasonable person will do in this world. After a while, however, Nemona disappears and we decide to split up to go look for her. And here things get even stranger. We discover that not only Carmine, but the entire city is possessed and we engage in battle with two villagers. In this battle, due to the sticky web and the paralysis, I did basically nothing and I got carried by Kiran. I'm not very proud of myself. After the battle, we see Nemona running up the hill, and we follow her. At the top of the hill, we find Kiran's grandparents who are going to buy Carmine her favorite noodles, to see if she comes to her senses. But Kiran's grandmother also starts acting strange, and she brings out a plate full of mochis, insisting that her husband eat one. The wise old man decides not to drag us in what could have become a heated marital argument, and he eats one of the mochis, ending up being possessed by the spirit as well. We easily defeat Kieran's grandparents, and after the battle we get a call from Arven and Penny, who seem scared about something. It's time to return to Mosui Town, where we find Arven and Penny strangely still normal, but not for long, because Pecharunt appears, he attacks us with high-speed flying mochis, hitting Arven and Penny directly in the mouth and hitting Kieran on the forehead, while we manage to dodge the mochi with the Ultra Instinct. And then, as expected, another double battle begins, this time against Arven and Penny. It's starting to get a little repetitive. At the end of the battle, Pecharunt flies to the top of the Loyalty Plaza. We chase him and then we find him together with Nemona, who is also possessed. Shortly after, all the villagers reach us. Kieran decides to cover our backs by facing them alone, while we engage in battle with Nemona. I have to admit that the fact that Nemona seemed to be the most comfortable with the curse was quite funny. Even in that state, she managed to articulate some words and above all to enjoy the battle a lot. And finally, after defeating Nemona, we can face Pecharunt in the boss fight. But unfortunately, this time too is a battle with a guarantee capture, like for Terapagos, and I don't like them, because I prefer to sweat a little when I have to capture a legendary. However, after capturing Pecharunt, everything returns to normal, the curse disappears, and Carmine is finally healed, and she joins us on the hill. After a few days in which Nemona forced Carmine and Kieran into hours of endless Pokémon battles, we decide it's time to say goodbye and go home, and so our final adventure in Kitakami ends. In the epilogue, basically nothing is said about Pecharunt and his story, and everything we know is explained in a separate video published by the Pokémon Company. In this video, we discovered that Pecharunt had been adopted by an elderly couple without children, and that, due to the mochis that he fed to the couple, he had increased the greed of the two, who began to make the most absurd requests, until one day they asked him to bring them some beautiful rare masks. We discovered that Pecharunt set out in search of these masks using Okidogi, Monkidori and Pheasantipity all under his control, and ended up attacking and probably killing the stranger of Kitakami to steal his masks, provoking the wrath of his friend Ogrepon, who took revenge on the four, starting the legends of Kitakami that we know well. It's interesting that they decided to give us information about Pecharunt through a separate video, although I would have preferred to hear it told by some characters in the game or read about it in some lost book of Kitakami. But we are talking about a mythical Pokémon after all, and the fact that an entire chapter has been dedicated to him is already a lot. Overall, I quite like this epilogue. I didn't expect much, because I knew it will only focus on Pecharunt. I think it was fun, even if a little repetitive. But I have to admit that inside me, I feel like something is missing. Even though my hopes were a little low before playing this epilogue, there was still a part of me that was hoping for a dialogue with Arven to tell him what happened on the top of Oni Mountain, when we met his mother in the temporal paradox created by Terapagos, even just to tell him that in her own way Professor Sada cared for her son, and was sorry to neglect him. And perhaps it would have been a good opportunity to give him Sada's Scarlet book, because after all it belongs more to him than to us. As I already said in the last video, I confirm that I really like this DLC, and this epilogue wasn't bad either. But you know, we have a time machine, and a book that can activate it, and a boy who could very well decide to reactivate it to see his long lost parent again. There is enough material to make a third DLC. Perhaps our adventure in Paldea may not be over yet, and perhaps this game may still have some stories to tell. Who knows? And that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, let me know your opinion in the comments, and if you want, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for stopping by and see you next time. Bye!